Okay, everybody, good evening. This is William again, hosting the ET Whisperers November 2019 monthly Q&A. It is 11:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on December 4th. We are running very far behind, but again, Rob and Kalina are just starting over at a new life in a new apartment. I understand if everybody here is from Patreon, you understand that Rob and Kalina have a life behind the scenes. There's a person and a family behind the ET Whisperer. And so I've been happy to come here where they're settling in and adjusting to their new child. And I think Rob is with us now. Are you here with us, Rob?
I am here. I am here. Thank you, brother, for that announcement. Thank you guys for hanging in there. I think at the Patreon link that is posted on Patreon goes to a Wesley Willis video called Chronic Schizophrenia. So I am going to need the new link sent over to me. For whatever reason, this video is what comes on. All right, yes, if you could send the video to me, brother, that would be nice.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to send that on Skype now. You know,
oh boy.
that's really funny, actually, and probably just what I needed to hear right now. Because I know you and I were both tense that we were all running so behind tonight. We like to put a good show together for everybody.
Yes, we will.
And then something like that happens. This is why I think the universe is sometimes a genie that likes to screw with people.
Oh boy.
Oh god.
Okay, guys, sorry about that.
No, that was just the icebreaker that we needed, I think. We were so tense over here trying to get everything right. And then we just get the curveball of a lifetime. All right, let me look in the chat though. If there is any
Yeah, let's do that.
Can everybody hear Rob and I fine? Have we gotten the... And again, if you're chatting with us, make sure that the chat box says live chat rather than top chat.
And why is it still going to Wesley Willis? I just fixed this thing. All right, let's try this again. All right.
That's crazy.
That is quite random. Oh, I know why. Because the embedded link is still not changed. Yeah, there it is. The pasted link was, but the embedded one wasn't. All right, let's try now. All right, guys, we're going to try now, and hopefully... no, that's not going to happen, guys. All right, let me see. For some reason, the universe wants all of you to see Wesley Willis' song called Chronic Schizophrenia. Oh my gosh. All right, so I'm going to try this yet again. I'm just going to wipe this whole link out completely, erase it, and start fresh. Let me go back to our conversation, get the link from you. Oh.
And again, not to shift blame, this is kind of YouTube's and Google's fault, though, for doing away with that very wonderful program they had.
Yeah. It's pretty horrific.
We've had to go to these bizarre lengths to get the show out there. Again, I'm broadcasting I'm down in Fincastle, Virginia, and Rob is still up in Michigan. So, but we
go. Now it's finally right.
We do have an interesting show tonight. Tonight's going to be everybody's questions and answers, and they're going to be generated at random.
All right. I should make a new post, too, so people will see it in their email. Yeah, because people are not. They might not come back to check that. Let me see. There we go.
These kind of mishaps are equally as entertaining to me. When stuff like this happens, it's the joy of live media that you know that there's a real person on the other end of the internet connection.
Yeah, that's exactly it. All Right. And I should probably put it on the Facebook group too. You know, yeah, let's do that too. Just such a weird choice for a video.
Right, of all the technical glitches that could have happened, that's the one that held us up tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We get everything else together. We got the stream up early.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we actually, because of your program, we were actually able to put the link up an hour, 2, 3 hours, whatever it was beforehand, and not have to, piddle around with a last minute type deal.
Right.
And
We got the audio right. The first time I was on a cell phone leaning up against a microphone, you know. So we figured that one out, and now this.
yeah, and hopefully people will be joining us now. Okay, there's 4 people watching, so there are some people. Probably Kalina's one of them, I'd imagine. Oh, we got people showing up. Hey guys, how are ya? What a crazy start to a day. You guys didn't hear what we were just sharing. You probably just started hearing a few things. But yeah, crazy night. And when you go back to re-listen to it, you will have fun, I'm sure, because we did. Me and William were laughing probably 3 or 4 minutes of our opening part because of the awesomeness.
I know that's what happens when you take yourself too seriously. Something like that will remind you to laugh a little.
Us Capricorns do that though sometimes. We're like, hey, we got to get down to business. We got to get things done, and we got to do it right now. Mm-hmm. We go hard sometimes, us Capricorns. It's funny. A lot of people are meeting me and Kalina for the first time at the first channel panel, and that was our first big event. Our first event with more than 30 people at it, because we had always done live events like for other people at cafes. Coffee machines are going, random people are walking through, and our local group just had like 15 to 30 people. Or we were doing our Asheville workshops or small get-togethers with 10, 15 people. So we have like 150 people. We have 2 days of channelers, 8 channelers, huge channelers like Lee Harris and Wendy Kennedy and Nor Harold. All of our friends who were channeling at that time. And, we just had this really great thing. And we were so excited. People knew that we were excited. They felt our excitement every time we talked about it. We almost bored people to tears how much we talked about how exciting it was going to be and fun. And then we get there, and me and Kalina are both like super laser focused and tense. And some people are like, wow, I expected to see more smiles and stuff from you being excited. I said, I am excited, but I'm excited also to make sure this goes right. And right now, I got to take care of this, and that. So it's funny how the Capricorn energy can be a little bouncy sometimes that way.
Oh yeah, I love throwing parties and events, but I'm the one that's making sure the music's playing and the AV equipment's hooked up and the cooler's stocked and the grill's going and there's firewood. You got to keep the event going. All those things that go into making a good event, somebody's got to take care of it. And so I'm like a balancing act. But we are doing Q&A tonight, and I've got all that set up. It looks like we have a fair amount of questions, a little less than usual, actually.
Yeah, which surprised me too when I saw that. Yeah, definitely surprised me. And thank you too, William, for coming on tonight. Most people miss the reason why you're here. You shared with us, things have been, we're settling in at our new house, new life, new baby, new situation with my son. All those things are new to us. And this new place adds the last kind of layer on. So thank you for being here, brother. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's no problem. That's what I was saying, is that a lot of people, I hope in this group, it's a metaphysical and a more understanding and loving group than like I do a political YouTube channel, and some of my viewers can be vicious. Your viewers all seem to love you, especially here in the Patreon community. And but sometimes there's a tendency to forget that there's a person and a family behind the ET Whisperer that has everyday life problems, where we're not running out of big TV studios and we don't have big production budgets or anything. And life does happen. You're just a regular guy. The struggle is real.
Yeah.
No, I can't hear you now.
Oh, see, I had it unmuted. Sorry, I was typing in your ear. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a real situation. Most of you guys know about my son with his issues, and tonight Kalina was trying to be so wonderful and so beautiful. The baby finally went to sleep, so she gets up and starts clearing out Bub's room and Jeremy's room and unpacking his stuff because we want to get him back to school. That's the place where he gets his therapy. He loves going there. It's really exciting. And we couldn't get him there for the last few days because we have to have all his supplies, his medical supplies, his diapers, his bed pads, his feeding tube stuff. Like, we have a whole shelf that's just packed full of medical stuff that we need for him to keep him hygienic, to keep him healthy, to keep him clean, all that good stuff. And all of it was in boxes, so we would dig every minute. And to know that you have to get up at 4 in the morning, wake up for a half hour, and then just slam, shower, changing all the good stuff, and getting him on the bus. But now that we're in Kalamazoo, we would have to drive him to his mother's house, which is like 30 miles away. So now it's not just the regular program that we do every morning, which is a highly intense program to get him ready for school, but we also have a 30-minute drive. And in Michigan, for most of you who live in the central or southern states or in different countries, Michigan is one of the hardest hit states in the United States for snow. It's not one of the furthest north. There are a lot of states that are more north than we are, but that's not what determines our snow. We get lake effect snow because we're surrounded by 3 Great Lakes on all sides. Like, Michigan is second only to Florida for being a peninsula state. We actually have 2 peninsulas in the state of Michigan. And when Chicago, which is a cold city, right, they get snow, they get lots of snow, it gets cold there, they're directly west of Lake Michigan from us, and all of our weather patterns come from the west. So when they get 3 foot of snow and they're at 15 degrees, we get 8 foot of snow and -10 because just the moisture buildup going over that lake with all the cold wind and it picking up more and more moisture from the lake, then by the time it gets to us, it's just so much worse. And that, with a 30-minute normal drive during summer when the roads are nice and clear, turns out to be an hour-and-a-half drive. So, and going to pick them up afterwards. So, yeah, I mean, everything about the shift involves us getting used to something different. And that's the thing that's been happening since the birth of Lily, since the pregnancy of Kalina. I mean, God, even 9 months of Kalina's body changes, hormone changes, emotional changes, mental changes, my mental, emotional, and even hormonal change. I went through the sympathy cramps and the sympathy heart flutters and the sympathy tiredness and the sympathy craving. Because we're so both in touch with each other and in touch with this new child coming in, it was just synchronistic that we both. So I'm sure all of you guys know this. I mean, this is self-explanatory. When something small changes, you get a new neighbor or a new mailman. I mean, shit changes in your life. So
no, that's true.
Lots of big changes all at once, you know?
We're all creatures of habit. I think this audience is sophisticated enough to realize how just any one of those changes is a huge deal. And as I said, we're all creatures of habit. And of course, anybody in Jeremy's situation, I'm sure he's even more accustomed to habit. And those things have a devastating effect on someone like him.
Yeah, he's got the energy almost like a child who has autism. He's very schedule oriented. It's not specifically schedule because I don't know if he, I mean, energetically, I'm sure he knows the time of day. Like, hey, it's light out. Hey, it's dark out. Hey, I'm tired. Hey, I'm awake. Those types of things. But he's used to getting up and getting in the shower and getting fed and getting dressed and getting on a bus and going to school and all these different things. And when that pattern breaks, it's rough. Like, like during the divorce was probably one of the harder times for him because everything was so different. But as much as little things like that can bug us, yeah, you're absolutely right. It was that much more difficult for him, almost in some cases devastatingly, where his emotions, his mentality and all of that shifted pretty largely until he got used to the new schedules. And it took him, some things took him weeks to, but others months and even a couple years,
Right. I mean, we have a tendency to misremember childhood as this wonderful time of happiness, but really, like, there's so much uncertainty, and like the little Mr. Rogers was great at this, talking to kids, like little things that you or I would just brush over could be devastating to children. It's their whole world sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great point. The misremembering of a lot of things as children. It's funny. All of you guys should really understand this, or at least, at least understand from one degree or another, the remembering back to the younger years and childhood. When you go through your spiritual journey, it makes you revisit those things sometimes and really put a microscope to it to see the what's, whens, whys, wheres of how we got to where we were when we weren't feeling great or weren't connected with our spiritual self, all the way to the shift of personality, the shift of some of you who are fortunate enough to hear your guides or talk to your guides. I mean, those kind of jumps are really large ones. So it seems like the larger the shift in that, the more introspected energies we have going towards us. So, yeah, I'm glad that you guys appreciate it. And I know this is my long-winded way of saying thank you guys for understanding all of these things changing. But, if any of you guys watched last night's, my heart is truly here with you guys. My heart is truly into sharing more of this energy, channeling, helping people, getting people equipped to make better decisions in their life, getting people equipped to do better things in their own experience, whatever makes you happy, that type of stuff. That's what my big thing is. And I love being able to interact with people. That's why every time we do one of these things, instead of just saying, hey guys, let's channel, I have to sit here and talk to you forever, because being able to interact with you, seeing what you guys got going on and seeing what you say and seeing what you share is just, it's really great for me too. And I'm looking back now at the at the chat room, and I really thank you guys. I love you guys. And hey, Easy Dean, Adam, Deborah, Patty, Galactic Travel Channel. Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for being here. Love you guys. Casey, I like the little mushroom too. That's nice.
Right. Well, Rob, when I started supporting you on Patreon, I didn't know you at all personally. And I think it's worth pointing out, don't ever feel like you're being long-winded. We're not supporting Treb and Aridif on Patreon. We're supporting you on Patreon.
That's very true.
Treb and Aridif don't need to punch a clock or something like that, or to deal with this physical nonsense that we have going on. It's always been about you guys. True.
Well, thank you, brother. That does, and I know that from my heart. I think I've been disheartened a little bit because I saw so much, and that's kind of why I was in the hurry, which caused me to be late tonight. My mindset was like, I gotta hurry, can't be late. I keep promising these guys, and I keep screwing it up. We had at one point like 73, 75 patrons just a month and a half ago, and we're down to 60 now. So many people dropped off because of the insanity that has been the shift of everything that's going on. And it doesn't scare me. It just makes me feel disappointed. And also, money is an important thing too. And I wanted to have the Patreon as a place where I could put a lot of people together and let it be for very inexpensive amounts and still get a lot of information. And if it hits a critical point where I can support, myself just off Patreon and do minimal private sessions, that's even better for me because we can stack up loads of content here that can be archived, that people can watch, and it just lets new people come in and join this community. It's a community, and YouTube's taken that away from us. YouTube's taken away our ability to have a community. So this is like the replacement community for that, and I really want to financially for me and Kalina's better life that we want, the greater things in life that we want to do for our children, ourselves. All of that comes through doing this and sharing this, and when Kalina starts hers, if she ends up going through and charging and doing it financially, then that's great too. She'll do that. But the whole point is, by doing this in Patreon, it makes it easier for me. It makes it easier for you guys. It makes it easier for all of us collectively. So when I saw all those numbers drop so drastically in such a short time, it was just like, oh no, man, I'm really messing up here, and and I'm going to keep messing up if I'm late. But then I pressure myself and it makes me late, which, manifest, it's half a dozen, 6 or half a dozen, whatever the case is.
Yeah, I lost a bunch of patrons too because I've been running for sheriff all year. I haven't been able to do my YouTubing, and people are just dropping that, why aren't you making content? I'm like, I'm running for office out of my own pocket to try and stand up for constitutional ideals, what makes America great. I'm trying to do something in the real world to actually make a difference. And like, why aren't you on YouTube? I'm like, it's not life, it's a hobby.
Right.
So I lost a ton of subscribers between that and censorship, but it'll come back. I'll start putting my energy back in there, and it'll grow again.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing, and I know that it represents two things. It represents my fear of disappointing all the people who have supported me. Even if one person puts one comment on a video, that's the support to me. That's love being sent to me, and that's huge. Patreon people support me in a different way, both with a love and financially. And when someone puts finances up, it's a bigger energy, at least in my mind, not because I feel it's bigger or more, but most people perceive money as a bigger energy. It's, money is weird. It messes with people, or it blesses people. Some people believe it's a curse. It's a real weird energy. And when someone puts that up, I know that statistically there's at least half of them who think it's a much more important energy. And to me, the way it affects me, obviously, it's a positive thing for me too. But so seeing that go in there, I also know, that fear of disappointment is one thing, but the second thing is the energy behind me not having the time and energy to put towards my channeling lately. For the last 2 years, it's just really been a more difficult area. My dad died 3 years ago. That kind of put me off track for a while. I went back in full blast a little too early. I hadn't fully dealt with all the things that came from there. And after that, there were lots of circumstances that kind of just tumbled down. Issues with Jeremy. He went to the hospital. With our dog, got hit right after my dad died, right in front of me. Like, I watched him die and get run over. So like all these little things that just add up, and not little things, big things really, knocked me off. But I kept going in and I kept jumping in. I was trying to I was kind of distract myself with the excitement that I had for channeling. Before my dad died, I literally got off the plane from Los Angeles for the first channel panel, one of the biggest highs of my life, a successful event, and an energetically beautiful event, something that I felt a sense of completion for. Like, oh my God, me and Kalina just did this huge and beautiful thing that has never been done on the scale before, and that most people here have never got to experience. And into, hey, Dad went from being sick to real sick, and then just downhill from there. So all those things adding up, and then Kalina getting pregnant, it's like right before she got pregnant, we started doing really great again. We had the 2017 channel panel, which was even bigger. Daryl Anka showed up, for God's sake. It was huge, right? So we had all those things really going good. Kalina gets pregnant, and that wasn't a bad thing by any means. I mean, that was literally one of the small handfuls of things in my life that I consider the most important things, but it took my energy and focus off the channeling. So
Right.
in either bad ways or good ways, my energy got shifted, and now it's time for it to go back.
Well,
And I really want to do that. You know what I mean?
Rob, if it wasn't for like horrible tragedies in your life, you wouldn't even be a channel right now. Isn't that so?
Oh, I guarantee you. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
There
So,
would have been no far out destination for me to have taken for me to come back into reality in such a strong and powerful way. Absolutely.
right. So whatever's happening now, well, I mean, you're never going to get past. None of us will ever get past the little annoyances of life, or even the big ones. But whatever happens, you're going to integrate into who you are, and I know ultimately you'll be better for it. I mean, you and I are both still young. Could you imagine when you're like in your 70s channeling? You'll probably, be able to project like Yoda or something at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that would be something I look forward to.
Well, speaking of which, do you want to take some time to get into your?
Yeah, I gotta get moving. I just saw it's midnight already, so I've got to get ready for the channel. And we're gonna go, guys, do some questions.
Mhm,
And remember, if you're here and you haven't commented, please comment.
mhm.
That way, you get yourself a chance to get 3 questions asked, and William will tell you all about that.
Okay.
I'm gonna go, guys. Love you guys. Thank you again, William. Thank you, guys. Love you guys, and I'll see you in 5 to 7.
All right, no problem. All right, guys, it's just you and me again. And I am William from Fincastle, Virginia. I help out Rob sometimes since the new baby's arrived. And I just kind of fell into this. I know some of you are familiar with me already, but for anybody that hasn't heard, I started supporting Rob years ago. I found him by accident, and I was a big reader of the Seth material by Jane Roberts. That's how I kind of got into metaphysics. I started by reading Seth Speaks in 2004 after my uncle died. So that's when I became acquainted with channeling. I had heard of Edgar Casey years ago, but I never really understood channeling until I read the Seth material. And then I stumbled upon Rob just by accident. And because I actually, in line thematically with what we've been talking about tonight, having read the Seth material, if you read it, it's written very intimately by Jane and her husband. Like this phenomena was kind of thrust upon Jane. She didn't really understand channeling when it happened. She had a very Catholic upbringing. And so a lot of the channeling, you get the channeled material from Seth, but there's also a lot in there about how they, as human beings, are dealing with this phenomena in their life in the 60s when it's still kind of conservative. That things like that aren't talked about publicly in polite society, even in New York at the time. And so because of that material, I got an understanding that there was a person behind the ET Whisperer. When I would listen to him and I would listen to his struggles that he would talk about, I always love the fact that Rob's been so open about his past and who he is as a human being. There's nothing phony about him, I can tell you that. This man, he's one of the most genuine people I've met, and genuine people are very hard to come by in this day and age. But that's what compelled me to start supporting Rob on Patreon. And I was doing that for, I don't know, some time. And he had done a video, and I don't even remember what the video was. It was a panel that he was on somebody else's YouTube channel. And there were some points that he was talking about. He was making a lot of great points, and I wanted to address that. I didn't think I would ever be able to, Rob seems so out of reach, like, because he's this distant YouTuber. And so I made a video where I made it addressed to Rob, the ET Whisperer, where I just started pivoting off of the points he made in the other video. And then he got back to me, which was one of the most thrilling days in my life. And he found out that I have my own YouTube show and that I'm kind of good on the air. And out of necessity, one day he's like, "Hey, can you help me out?" And so here I am. I have no idea how long I'm going to be on the team. We've talked about doing radio shows in the future. I know I'm not Kalina. Adam says, "I'm solid." Thank you, Adam. No, it's actually, I always enjoyed listening to Rob and Kalina because they have this wonderful energy that plays off of each other. Rob and I definitely have a bromance of sorts, but I'll definitely never fill Kalina's shoes. So, and I'm sure I know she loves being with the baby, but I'm sure there's a part of her that wishes she could be doing this as well. That's the thing. If any of you are parents out there, or if you're not, you know what it's like. If you've lived at all and you've had to take care of people other than yourself, children, grandchildren, loved ones, you know there's always sacrifices that have to be made. Galactic Travel Channel says Rob carries what I call the old school energy, a depth of genuine love and care and understanding. Yes, he definitely does. He definitely does. I've never met him physically. You know, I'm hoping that'll happen at some point. I don't know when. They come down to Asheville, North Carolina from time to time. As I said, I'm in Virginia's Blue Ridge in Fincastle, and so I could easily get to Asheville. Incidentally, if there happens to be another outage and the stream goes down or something, there is a massive windstorm outside that I could hear through my office building, through my headphones, in my studio. So if I can hear the wind in here, it's got to be bad. So if we have an outage, that's why. So what's going on with you guys tonight? We are doing a drawing. If you're a member of Patreon and you're listening, please comment in here. I'm going to do a drawing at the end of it, and the winner will get to ask Treb or Aridif some questions. I believe it's 3 questions. I have right now Easy Dean, Adam, Deb, Patty, Galactic Travel Channel, and Cindy. Who else is there? Anybody else here that I've missed? I think I've got everybody. Let's see. Luca, hello. I got you now. So, no, I've always liked, to speak back to Adam, he says I was made for this. I've been involved with media off and on for about 20 years, but it's never been my full-time thing. I do have a YouTube channel. Okay, Sam, got you too. I do have a YouTube channel, which is very different. Well, not very different, but somewhat different than metaphysics. I'm an unwilling participant in politics these days, so I do cover politics. Deborah, if you're picked, you can send them to me. It's fincastleunderground@aol.com. Let me send you that. I'll put that in here. So I'm a sociologist. That's what all my college is in. Actually, that's just one of the many hats I wear. So what's interesting to me, being so involved in metaphysics, is how co-creation happens. On the physical level and the scientific level, you'd call it sociology. But I'm sure, as all of you realize, we're co-creating on an energetic level. So there's a part of my mind, the rational, logical, reasoning part of my mind, that deals with society, in the sense of sociology. And then, of course, there's the metaphysical side of me that likes to interpret how society interacts based on energy. And the fact that, especially in America, we're very so polarized right now, it's a fascinating time, and it's not going to be like this forever. Everything ultimately will be integrated. You're welcome, Deborah. Galactic Travelers Channel still has 3 questions in the email queue from last time. Yeah, the email queue might be my trash box. Not that your questions are trash, but afterwards since I'm not really part of the ET Whisperer team, when people email me, if you don't get picked, I don't go through your questions and stuff like that. But I will see if I have it here. Anything I don't use, I end up deleting. Because I realize that there are personal aspects to some of what we do here, so I'm very sensitive about people's privacy and confidentiality. Let me see. Let's see. Got them. I did delete them. This is back from September 29th. All right. And I don't know who will end up getting picked. Literally, I just rip up these little pieces of paper, throw them up in the air, and I grab one. That's the special secret methodology for picking people's questions. The questions that I ask are totally random from all the ones that people have sent in. I've done the same thing. They're printed out, they're ripped up. I just select them at random. There we go. Okay, guys. So tell me about you guys. That's what I do on my show. I let my when I'm live streaming, I let my audience carry some of it. What's going on in everyone's world out there while we're waiting for Rob? Because we were talking about sociology. I'm going to go back to the Seth material on that. One of the great books is by Jane Roberts called "The Individual and the Nature of Mass Events." And it's how Seth talks about in the channeling sessions how society is basically a representation of different energy currents, not only of the individuals involved with it, but in the time period. The time period that we're in is a particular type of frequency. Not to mention, Luca's at the Ram Dass retreat in Maui. That sounds nice. That sounds very nice because it's getting very cold here in Virginia. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the Monroe Institute. That's how Rob learned how to start doing channeling, was through some of the Monroe programs that they have. And I'm fortunate enough that the Monroe Institute is only about 2 hours away from here. I know, that is very lucky. Yeah, Virginia is actually, you wouldn't think of Virginia as a metaphysical mecca by any stretch of the imagination, but there are a few things here. We do have the Edgar Cayce Center in Virginia Beach, which I've been to, and the Monroe Institute here, which I've been to a number of times, sometimes just to hang out on the grounds. I don't even go there for a program. If I happen to be in the Charlottesville area, we'll go over to the Monroe Institute and just hang out. They have a huge piece of rose quartz over there, one of the largest pieces of rose quartz in the world. The other one, it has a twin in Brazil. And the energy at the Monroe Institute is just fantastic. For those of you who don't know, because I'm sure there are some, I've been talking as if you guys are familiar with it, but the Monroe Institute, Robert Monroe was the pioneer, the modern age pioneer in America anyway, in the Western world, of out-of-body experiences. He wrote the book Journeys Out of the Body, and he had this unexplained, well, to him at the time, it was an unexplained out-of-body experience. He had no idea what was going on. And long story short, he thought he was going crazy. He thought he had a medical problem. No doctor here could give him any answers. So he started exploring his mind basically on his own, using money from a company that he was running at the time. He set up a lab to sort of study sound and how it affects the human mind and what was happening to him with these out-of-body experiences. And he developed a program called HemiSync, where using audio tunes, he plays different frequency tunes in each of your ears, and then your brain synthesizes the tunes. So like say in one ear he'll play a tone of 100 hertz, and then in the other ear he'll play a tone of like 102 hertz, slightly different. But your brain will synthesize the two tones, and you'll hear a completely different tone that's different from what the actual tone is being pumped into your ears. And this helps to have your brain work in synchronization, hence the name HemiSync. And using this type of program is how Rob ended up ultimately becoming a channel. And so I've been talking with him, kind of not seriously, but kind of seriously, hoping that he'll come down to the Monroe Institute and maybe do a program there himself, because they do have guest speakers from time to time. So yes, I have gone to the Institute, Galactic Travel Channel. They do programs there. They do one-day programs where you can go in and just sample different things. They have week-long programs. And what happens is you actually live on the grounds. If you go there for a week long, it's like dormitory style. They have a ton of bathrooms. I've never seen so many bathrooms. I think they have more bathrooms than beds in the place. But you go in there, and there's like a little bed kind of cubicle that you go into, and it's totally dark in there. And you've got a little control panel and some really great headphones. And everybody that's in there, they go through the program at the same time. So you go in with 30 other people, and collectively you're all sharing the same experience, but you're isolated in this little booth. And the Gateway Voyage is like kind of like their flagship program, and that it's 36 different exercises that help you attain out of body experiences. Casey, I did know your name was Casey, but I didn't know if you wanted it to be revealed or not. That's the kind of thing, because like on my own channel, people use screen names for all different kinds of reasons. So I did not want to presume that you wanted to be unmasked, so to speak. But I'm glad you cleared that up.
I'm back also. Ready to rock and roll when you guys are.
We were just talking about the Monroe Institute.
Yeah, I heard. I've never been there. Kalina's dad did a week-long program there on a scholarship, and he went through and had his most intense out-of-body experience there. He felt his arms moving out of his body, and then all of a sudden he started floating up above his body, went through a couple walls, looked down, got freaked out, snapped him back into his body. But yeah, it was very, very intense for him and very great. And for me, it's what took my meditation from a plateau of really good relaxation, of being able sometimes to hear certain things. Like I would hear words. Like one time, and I don't want to get too much out of my neutral state, but I just want to share this because it's on topic. Before I started my HemiSync Gateway Experience program, I heard the name, I won't use their real name, but one of my dad and mom's friends. At the time, I didn't realize that's who, or what name came through, but that name came through, and then I saw electricity and felt like a entire shake through my body of electricity.
Rob, I think we lost you. I can't hear you at all. Can anyone else hear Rob? Hello?
Right, can you?
I can hear you now.
Okay, they said on the chat that they lost both of us for a second there.
I have no idea. Everything's up and running here.
Okay, you guys hear us now?
All right, let's just see.
Hello?
It could take a second for us to get into the stream.
There we are.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so what was the last thing you guys heard me say?
The last thing I heard you say is that you felt a bolt of electricity go through your body.
Okay. So I then talked to my dad and asked him if he had heard from his friend. If he was still alive or around. He was an older guy when I was younger, so I assumed the possibility he died. He said, yeah. I heard from them less than a year ago. I saw one of their cousins that we both knew, Yeah, they're there. They're alive. And he said, why? What made you think of that? Because I hadn't seen those people since I was a little kid. And, I didn't even remember until my dad brought him up. When I said, hey, do you know so-and-so? He brought up his friend. I said, oh, okay, well, have you seen him? So he says, yeah, they're good. And he said, why do you think about it? And I said, well, there's something with electricity, and I'm not sure what it is. And my dad's like, oh, I can't believe you remembered that. And I said, what do you mean? Their oldest son had died on an open wire electricity, like a downed power line. The kid ran his bike over it and died. And when my dad said it, I remembered it. But I hadn't thought of that, heard about it, or even considered that for years and years and years and years. So, those were the types of things that were happening before HemiSync. So there was some openness there, but it plateaued. It was stale. It was like that for months. And then I get on the Gateway Experience, and the very first time, it's like my whole body felt like it was almost instantly asleep. My mind was wide awake, but my body, I was having trouble connecting to my body. So I was like, whoa, this is intense. The first one is just really intense and really good for me. And I kept going, and that's eventually where it landed me. So any of you guys who live by that area or who want to go by that area, or just who happen to come in contact with the gateway experience, if a friend has it, or you download it off the internet somewhere, or you buy it, whatever. I always highly suggest the programs there. I've had some people have told me that they tried it and they never got anything from it. They said, yeah, I had a deep relaxation, but I can do that with my own meditation. So I think it's the openness of the person too. Maybe it has something to do with the brain function, or the way. But I know that when it comes down to out of body experiences, and when it comes to expansion of the soul, that doesn't happen on a mental level. It happens on an energetic, spiritual, etherical level. So yeah, anyway, I just want to share that was on topic. So
All right. Well, we don't want to knock you out of whack, so if you're ready to
yeah,
proceed.
I'm gonna do one more breath, one more drink, and then we'll jump in.
Okay. There we go, guys. And I dropped a link for the Monroe Institute in there. There's lots of fakes out there. Definitely make sure you're getting it from the Monroe Institute. And also make sure that you're genuinely using stereo headphones. Otherwise, it won't work. Like quality stereo headphones. So I don't know why we had technical problems. You back, Rob?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right.
All right, guys. Love you. Again, William, thank you, brother. Thank all of you guys. I'll see you on the other side. Here we go.
All right.
Greetings to all the Aridif, that is A-R-I-D-I-F, and this is its spelled. We understand that all of you have queries for this evening, but before diving into those queries, there are three things in which we wish to express. The first two we have expressed all times since co-creating with each and every one of you. First, in that construct of all things that are expressed within this day to know, feel, and to perceive that you are loved, in our perspective, is of the utmost importance. Secondly, it is our greatest excitement, and within that same great excitement in which we create and co-create with you in this moment and through all moments of your linear time, both singularly and collectively. Thirdly, we wish to greet you, will you?
Greetings, Ardif. I'm happy to be back here with you.
Yes, of course. Great many constructs of energy, ideals, topics, and co-creative sharings for this day and days to come. You may begin your queries at your leisure.
All right. Well, we're going to jump right in then. The first question here is from Dean, actually, to you. He says, my son Nicholas is 39 months old and doesn't really speak. He just joined daycare this past September, but has been out of school for 3 weeks since he broke his leg. He's better now. I speak French to him and my wife speaks English with him. He seems to understand things in both languages, but other than the word no, he doesn't really say much. When he was 1, he used to talk even more, but for some reason he only seems to speak what sounds like his own language. My question is, how can I help him speak our languages instead or in addition to what he currently speaks?
Yes, first of all, understanding that what is being shared is a version of valid speech and communication for him. And we understand there are certain levels of awareness that this is occurring. But to truly understand the depth in which the area and location of that language originates from is also important. Your son has a great deal of lifetimes, not only upon Earth, in the Earth co-created collective consciousness, but also multiple systems throughout the entire galaxy. And from all of those energies, in creation and in co-creation, through all incarnations, there are portions and parcels of energy that are passed forward from the higher fractal consciousness, which are attached to those previous incarnations in form of memory. And those memories come forward not through conscious thought process, not through analyzation or breaking down. Memories that are concrete and receivable and tangible to your son, but in ways of the verbalized form of language. The greatest way to work with, sharing your own energy with him, and for him to be able to receive that energy, is as you are communicating, focus upon first your throat chakra. In sharing that energy, feel your heart chakra lift into your throat as you speak, placing all the extra love that is available for you to share. We understand as you communicate with him, there's already great amounts of love, but to share extra forms by bringing forward the heart chakra is also important. After you share with your son, visualize the form in which he receives. First, imagine that this energy goes from your throat chakra into the crown chakra, into his throat chakra, and then into his heart, redistributing downwards and upwards, such as all chakra systems work, from the heart going upwards and downwards, simultaneously touching all chakras afterwards. This energy will help the reception be at the greatest level. Now understand, your own form of expectations can get in the way you also receive the perspective of exchange with this entity. For example, if this visualization process places great deal of help in that form of communication. There can be higher levels of communication that are occurring, not speaking energetically, but verbally, in the concept and energy of vocality and natural language alone. And when you are hearing that energy, you're not being able to perceive how he is sharing with you. Therefore, he is sharing components or parts of both English and French languages, and you are not able to receive, hear, or perceive those parts and parcels. So, remind yourself to not expect that it will or will not work, to not expect how it will work, when it will work, or where it works, only knowing that your sharing of love and his receiving of that love is the most integral and important part of the healing process of the verbal forms of communication that occur between yourself, him, and your partner. And that co-creation with all of you comes from the heart in to another heart. And although it goes through multiple chakras and has multiple layers of embedded information within, the heart-to-heart is the main focus of the co-created energy. We thank you for this.
Thank you for that, Aridif.
Yes, of course.
The next question we have is from Deborah for you. She says, "Hello, Aridif. Can you please tell me what you think are my greatest strengths for going forward in this life? Many thanks and much love."
Yes, of course. These strengths you are already well aware. The condition of your heart and its openness towards other human beings. Your level of love is unlike most humans that are around you. And when you are fortunate to co-create with those who have similar levels of openness in their heart, that is where true magic occurs for you. This is a great strength, not only a strength, but an attribute of yourself that you deeply worked upon all levels of your co-creation with others and in all levels of your own personal incarnation journey from the earth and in the earth co-creatively. That is one and the most greatest energetic co-creation and attribute of co-creation that we can share. There are multiple other energies that are your strengths. The ability to understand others, even if not understanding their perspective. You are able to take what is being expressed and take in, both empathically and consciously with your mental body, and receive what is being said. And logically, you are able to discern what resonates and what does not resonate you. But more importantly, going back to love, that only adds to this great gift. Your heart chakra and empathy observes, rectifies the differences within the logical and energetic emotion energy, and forms your own deeper understanding. Most humans who speak in great depth and complex manners, it takes others longer times to break down the embedded information that is within, but with yourself it comes easily. The strength of your own understanding of the emotional complexes of others also strength. In general, if we are to make one categorically defined energy about yourself in the way that your strengths occur, it is all dealing with yourself and others. The strength internally that you bring to yourself from yourself, and all things that relate from your heart, your intuition, your empathy, and simply your great understanding logically of the world at hand, create a multitude of strings that are all embedded and spread throughout the spectrum of excitedness, the spectrum of strength, and the spectrum of growth that you have gone through. We thank you for this.
Okay. Our next question is also for you from Cindy. Cindy says, "I've heard you talk about star seeds and earth seeds with some general characteristics of each. which has made me very curious about this topic and how that affects our current incarnation. Can you tell me which one am I? Thanks and love to you all.
Yes, of course. First of all, you are an Earth seed. You've had multiple incarnations in the Earth co-created collective consciousness, multiple incarnation cycles within the Earth as well. Not only have you gone through human form through multiple thousands of incarnations, but you have also gone through Atlantean, Lumerian, and Lumanian lifetimes. The only incarnation cycle upon the Earth Collective that you did not take part was the Khen Key. And after the Khen Key left the Earth Collective, you started anew. Now, understand that as most humans, linearly speaking, there are times where breaks are taken, either staying out of physical reality altogether and helping others through theirs, or going in visitation for other co-created collective planetary consciousnesses and solar system collective consciousnesses as well. And as you have done this, you have learned a great deal. Now, understand the attributes within Starseed and Earthseed fundamentally are the same thing. They are both incarnations that are meant for desire from the higher fractal and the lower fractal collective, the entity that you are and hold, and that desire to go through themes, to go crazy and just exist and play with your surroundings, all specifically focused on one job, one energy, one focused point of your own collective energetic field, are all reasons why you co-create and create within that collective version. And knowing that in both star seeds and earth seeds, all of them have links to all places. None of those things that you've experienced in other times truly are affecting yourself. They are not affecting your lifetime in this moment. In fact, it is quite opposite. Your lifetime in this moment affects what aversion or what previous or future incarnation that you link to mostly in this lifetime. Most humans perceive that a past life in where I have similar problems is what links to me in this moment, thus dragging me downward, causing extra pain or extra fear exerted within the system of my own self and in others around me. But, in fact, your imbalance from this life carries your links and pathways to those lives where vibrations or themes are similar. And once you link to that lifetime, especially when there are levels of awareness, whether they are conscious, subconscious, or unconscious connections, and that is what creates the boost of pain, or the boost of fear, or the boost of discomfort. Fortunately for yourself, most of the lifetimes that are connected are not having said ill effect, not because you understood the larger portion of that co-creation as much so as your desire to be who you are in this existence on multiple levels, physically and non-physically. We thank you for this.
Okay, thank you again, Aridif. We have a question.
Yes, of course.
Sure, we have a question here from Ashley. Ashley says, my little doggy Cinnamon just passed away recently, and I was wondering if you could tell me anything about her on the other side and if she might want to reincarnate as our pet again in this lifetime. We really miss her little doggy spirit. Thanks, I love you.
Yes, of course. Not only are you loved, but we love you as well. There are multiple things that can be shared about this entity. There are no messages that we receive. There are no information portions of consciousness that we can share with you. But we can share with you that experience in which this entity is happening after leaving the physical body, as do most animals go into the construct of understanding that they are no longer in physical reality, but adjusting much more quickly than humans are able to. The lifespan of a human being and a dog or a cat are much different. But if you are to proportionize those equally, or make an equation for adjusting per capita, per lifetime, per moment, per year, etc., dogs and cats go back into incarnations approximately 3 to 10 times quicker than those that are average human. This entity does wish in, and being with you or not being with you is part of the energy that you yourself have not completely figured out. The part of yourself that is unconscious and parts within your higher fractal consciousness do not know yet what benefit would come from that reincarnation. First of all, if you intuit, feel, or perceive those aspects of the soul that cannot be hidden, regardless of how different the personality, no matter how different the mentality or the version or even the race of that animal, going into that experience, some portions cannot be hidden from the soul. If you find that portion of the entity that once was another identity altogether, or the dog that you had spent years with and understanding in intimate ways, you can start relating more so to the previous incarnation of that entity than its new. That is harmful for the co-creation and for the entity themselves as well as yourself. When entities that pass from the physical realm as humans go into the afterlife and instantly go back into a family or into those that are highly familiar with others, most of this comes from a feeling of lack or a feeling of fear that you will not be able to re-experience those entities in their life as they were, as you knew them. But what occurs most of the time after birthing process is done, the slate is wiped clear, the consciousness of the personality or persona of the entity that passes no longer exist. And if the human senses those parts that cannot be hidden, or the entity who is first born starts identifying in that level, the same can be expressed in human forms. Too much of that past incarnation becomes identity of the new incarnation. This is not helpful also in the soul, but this entity also has awareness in your level of understanding, your advanced nature in understanding the spiritual essences of yourself and others. So in this construct, knowing and allow that another animal comes into your life and has a possibility of being that entity, even if you were to take on that stance and know from that part of the soul that cannot hide, then you would have to allow yourself to discern greatly the difference between the entity that is new and the old. Why is this more important? Besides that energy of the tactic nature of your mind creating resonance with your past, it is specifically due to the fact that as a new identity within a soul, that soul desires an entirely new experience. And with yourself dragging their energy back into the past, or them dragging yours into the past, it takes away from that now moment. And as all of you are highly aware, when we share that being in your now moment is most beneficial, that comes into that assumption and into the basic understanding, the fundamental level, that going backwards is not helpful for expansion as well. We thank you for this.
All right, thank you for that, Aridif.
Yes, of course.
All right. We have here CJ for either Treb or Aridif. He says, since I started to work deeper on self, I've gained significant weight, which I'm having difficulty letting go of. Any specific thoughts or belief I'm holding on to which contributes to my physical weight gain?
Yes, of course. First of all, there are multiple energetic reasons reasons why this occurs. First, there is a new sensitivity within your emotional state that once was not there. There is a part of yourself that becomes more hurt by those that you love, that can become more sensitive to your understanding of your creation, co-creation, and that knowing of responsibility and how deeply you create your own reality, meaning that when you now have problems with a loved one, you know that there's part of that energy that you yourself have played upon that co-creation in order to get the version of that person that would have arguments, fights, or discomforts with. That energy and sensitivity has a form of protectionary essence. Most humans let one of two things occur when they are that sensitive. They allow their auric field to grow, to block out others' energies from seeping into theirs, with your intuition, your empathy becoming more sensitive. It also can be discomforting when others who have imbalanced energies enter your space. So growing out your auric field pushes back their energy even more so. Or growing physically as a place to express that you are protected, you are padded, there is nothing in your local vicinity that can penetrate that energy. So having new forms of sensitivity and having new forms of your experience allows. There are also multiple other reasons. There are levels of your past self that did not let yourself enjoy certain aspects of your own experience. And within the change of how food works with your system, in belief systems alone, those two things combined allow the new foods that you are eating and even the old foods that you are eating to interact with your system differently. Knowing that you are a creator, knowing that you can eat certain things that the collective consciousness perceives as negative, bad, or unhealthy, and still have healthy effects upon your body. This energy is a large thing for most humans to swallow, especially that in which are first starting the journey towards expansive nature. Remind yourself, your body grows and shrinks, the same as your feelings about yourself do. And if you are sensitive or feel that need to protect yourself, the physical body will follow suit with your energetic archetype. It especially becomes highly more sensitive to that energy of intaking sugars and carbohydrates. We thank you for this.
Okay, thank you again, Aridif.
Yes, of course.
Our next question is actually for Treb from Samantha.
Yes, one moment we will hydrate our throat and connect with Treb Bor Yit NE. One moment. Evening, William.
Good evening, Treb. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing very well. And how are you doing this evening?
I'm having fun, actually.
Yes, and very excited as well.
Well, I have a question for you from Samantha. I'm going to ask another question afterwards. It's either for you or Aridif, so whoever's more excited to answer it can hang around.
Yes.
All right, from Samantha, it says, this question is for my friend Treb. Treb, I have been told that one of my guides is a Lyrian being that I am connected to. Can you please elaborate in this connection? Thank you, Treb. We love you.
Yes, and I love you as well. The Lyrian being, an entity that is a guide for you, is what Aridif and myself call that generic guide. They are not a guide that are spirit guides that work inside of your energy or inside of your body, but they are guides that work with you through multiple times of your life and multiple times of your experience. The entity connects with you because you both are part of the same oversoul. And if you look linearly at lifetimes, this entity can be considered a future version of you. In multiple generations going forward, as you incarnate, this entity can be the next yourself, but in that same breath, you are its past self as well. Now, this is only a probability. The more excitement that you have for it, the more energy you place towards that excitement, and the more that you continue following the path of excitement and love, the more likely that this entity will be that future version of yourself. The entity is a being that is deeply connecting with your heart chakra and with your third eye chakra, and has many aspects of itself that it wishes to share with you, but also has many aspects of itself that it wishes for you to find out upon your own connection. The things that this entity wish to share with you and desire to talk to you about or to give you information about, the first is that this entity wants to connect with you very badly, very deeply, and very excitedly. When we say connect with you, they are already connected, but going through psychic energies, going through meditation and dream state energies, this entity can share with you a great deal of new things that are exciting for you, and a great deal of new things that can help yourself grow as well. This entity also wishes to share that its desire to learn more from its past version of itself, or what it perceives as the past version of itself, has to do with understanding how difficult the earth energy is for most entities to navigate, and knowing how the courage, desire, or want to be upon earth and incarnate as a human being was, and knowing that through multiple parts of your life that even you will not be able to answer this as well. So simply by sticking around yourself and sticking around your energy, it will learn a great deal about you and itself as well.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Yes, and very exciting as well.
All right, well, our next question is either for you or Aridif from Kim. And the question is, I have a question about a group of entities that I perceive as being Zetas. They are a group of very loving entities and far away from the standard view humans have of the species. I feel them as healers and genetic masters, but also as family. Every time they work with me, my body gets very relaxed and I feel deep gratitude. Can Aridif or Treb tell me more about this group?
Yes, the group of entities are beings that are grey beings. Zeta Reticuli is a word that is used from multiple races and multiple humans that encompass almost 12 different races, 11 and sometimes 12, depending on the human being or the entities that perceive. But in our own perspective, there is only one Zeta Reticuli race, and that are those that live in a planet that comes from the Reticuli constellation, from your Earth that humans have named or nicknamed Reticuli, and from that region of your sky looking upwards, the group that you have with you does not directly come from that region. They are, though, hybrids of the Zeta Reticuli and have mostly appearances of their parents that are Zeta Reticuli as well. So these entities are in touch more so, a bit more so, than their parent race of the Zeta Reticuli. They also have integration of human properties, so it allows them to feel better, feel more, and feel more deeply connected. It is not a mistake that you perceive them as a Zeta Reticuli, because their Zeta Reticuli energy is over 60% of their entire consciousness as well. Even though there's less than 40% DNA from humans in the hybrid group, there are still many components of emotional body energy and also auric energy that was taken from the human energy as well.
Okay. It happens that our next question is also for you, Treb.
Yes.
From Patty. She has a question about a dream she has. She said,
Yes.
I had a weird dream. Sorry, it's long. This is what I remember. I was relaxing in a bath when the area behind me opened up and someone was peeing on me. I was shocked and mad and tried to grab them. Next thing I know, I'm driving and it's raining hard and I have to pull over and park. The weather is so bad. The rain subsided and I knew there was a festival of flowers and light and I got out of the car. I'm running barefoot with long black coat and a girl I used to work with comes by and said, "You have to see my sister." I said I didn't really have time, but I knew where she stayed near a running stream in the woods. We walked while talking and it turned out we were close to where her sister lived. In real life, this girl doesn't have a sister. So we walked there and her sister, who I recognized as someone else in waking life, was in a cave with a bunch of other people. It was low light. I felt they were witches of sorts. She said I had to sign this agreement. Someone showed me something written on something that was on a type of bark. It was large in size, no actual writing on it. I said, agreement to what? And I said I wouldn't sign anything unless I knew what it was. She said this part is about a poem, and this other part is about the origin of love, and the next part, an Anton LaVey poem. Then she looked at me, and I looked at her in reference to Anton LaVey, and she said, but this poem is about nature. And for some reason, I thought, oh, that sounds nice, and signed it. And I could see where to put my first name, but they have to lift up some moss for me to sign my last name. Then I'm walking out of the cave up an incline. It's light out, and I turn see others exiting the cave. I recognize two from waking life, and they are chuckling with others, and I think, wait, I still don't know what I agreed to. And I tried to walk back into the cave, but keep thinking, what did I agree to, and woke up. What was that about? Thank you, much love.
Yes, this dream was about yourself contacting another group of entities that desires to work with you. The dream schematics that you have are not the actual experience that you have. As you know, the third layer in your dream state allow creativity, and also when you come back from that far away from being in your physical body and being as high in your dimensions as possible, that brings many things that are encoded back and many things that are coded directly from yourself. And when you reintegrate that energy, one step before you re-enter your body, the way that the dream happened folds itself into pertinent information in subconscious, pertinent information in downloads, and that information cannot be explored too deeply by the human mind, so it tries to take the very complex information and very odd and weird experiences and boil them down into something that you are very aware of, regardless of how different, silly, or weird it is perceived. There are many symbols that involve with the dream state and what parts of downloads, but we are shared with that the entities that you work with for this dream state wish to communicate with you in standard communication forms, first with crystal and crystal co-creation, then work with verbal co-creation, and until that time comes, they want for you to focus on the feeling of having the dream, not the confusion part, but the excitedness to know what was behind this very exciting and different dream as well. The peeing part of your dream is not meant as an insult or not meant as a negative thing, and did not happen from one entity urinating upon you. It was more about grabbing your attention very quickly up front and letting you understand and know that what is next is important. So focus in the way that you can focus, and focus with the possibility of focusing later and extracting the downloads that you did get, and also the energy of yourself getting awoken that quickly by that odd experience gives you something to ponder about within your beliefs as well.
That's very interesting.
Yes, and very exciting as well.
No, I understand dreams. Some dreams can affect human beings, and it sticks with you for quite a while. Some can be unsettling, and you don't know what to make of them.
Yes, and having something to remember, and having something that was at first upsetting, then confusing, was the perfect formula that you gave yourself in order to have a memory of the dream, then to speak to others, to reflect the possibilities of answers within them, and congratulations for your successful ability to do that right now.
Isn't this sort of the function of nightmares? Is that they shock you into confronting something that you need to confront?
Yes, that is one high attribute and one high reason for the nightmares. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Treb. We do have a next question for Aridif, so I will see you again sometime.
Yes, we will leave this moment in love and in light, and we will experience each other and experience all of you in one way or another very soon.
Thank you,
Good
Treb.
night.
Good night.
Yes, good night. Well, back without hesitation or delay yet again. This is Aridif.
Hello, Aridif.
Greetings.
We have a question from Martin who says, Aridif, can you tell me anything about my current level of DNA, chakras, and third eye activation? Much love and gratitude.
Yes, first of all, there are many things that can be expressed about your DNA, about your activation, about your down, about all components of yourself and the co-creative sphere, about those that work with you, and about those who co-create with you more deeply. One moment, we'll hydrate also and continue.
Yes.
First of all, the vibration of yourself in the way that you perceive has grown exponentially in the last 1 year of your time. And although there are time periods within the 1 year where ups and downs did occur, the ups are much more prevalent to the overall growth than the down portion. So understanding this is important. Now, looking at your DNA activation as such, you are in a very similar state to most humans who work with the evolution, expanded nature of your evolution and work with conscious evolution. It is a growing into the concept of past or post two marker DNA and small components that are known by most humans as junk DNA are starting to become more prevalent within your own internal system and externally, the way that energy works through your system physically and energetically as well. The expanded nature of yourself from the perspective of yourself waffles from time to time, going backwards and forwards, but we are sure that as long as you are working in moderate to great levels of excitement within, that energy explores the greatest part of your expansion. And although there are parts of that expansion which you have not perceived due to how you perceive yourself and how others perceive you, and simply being in the Earth Collective where rubbing up against another person next to you can shift your vibration, this shows us a great sign that although there have been concerns, that most of those concerns already internally been alleviated and feeling some forms of success have been there. We also wish to share with you that the more that you grow, the more that you will step into your alignment of evolution, meaning that your DNA or dimensional energy or higher fractal, lower fractal, downloads, etc., all are growing at all times. This is standard across the board of humanity. But as we've expressed previously, the energies that are behind your personal desire to grow and expand have elevated that energy as well. So look at the elevation in yourself and externally. The energy of yours pushes outward to the rest of the Earth Collective consciousness, and know that when DNA becomes activated, for the first 30 to 150 years, most entities are able to slightly tell as new iterations come forward. It is not until 80% or more of those changes are shifted within through all of the collective DNA in human co-created collective before great differences are noticed, such as those as all beings start working with telepathy, or all beings have stopped fighting long enough to learn about one another. And the continuation of your excitement also very important. We thank you for this. We also wish to express that we are taking our last query for this evening before entering that who ask 3 of their own questions.
All right, Aridif. Well, the next question we have then is from Aaron, and it's for Aridif, Treb, or any being that is most excited to answer me. Several months ago, I was at work at the airport, looked up in the sky and saw a very sparkly bright light. I knew it was something different straight away, so this time I decided to try and video edit with my phone. As I pointed my phone camera toward it, I zoomed in and out to show anyone that watched the video later where I was and to show the building I was working in, which was right next to the runway. As I recorded it, I was trying to look at it directly with my eyes as well because it looked so much more than the camera could catch. Then, amazingly, another smaller orb appeared and started doing 360-degree circles around the bigger one. This happened about 3 or 4 weeks after I had changed my diet to vegan and stopped drinking beer, as well as the experience I spoke about in my last question. I'm experiencing orbs in the sky all the time, but this time it seemed to step up a level, like when I visit Asheville, more happens. So does my change in diet have something to do with my contacts stepping up a level? And if you have time, please explain who they were and what they were expressing. Thank you, and much love and light.
Yes, of course. First of all, it is not just the diet that works within your energetic field that creates the larger, more exciting experiences and your ability to perceive those experiences. The energy in how you feel physically and within your ability to stay and maintain in that diet was the motivated factor, the energy behind the energetic co-creation. So being excited that you are able to find success in vegan diet, whereas before it was not as relevant, prevalent, or you yourself were not able to sustain and maintain that vibration of energy. So that excitement was the first and forerunner of of your experience. Secondly, the energy of yourself elevating your own conscious mindset, energetic field, comes yet again both from your mental energy and excitement, your emotional energy activated by that excitement, and the vegan diet shifting certain components of your energy through mental state, through your physical body, etc. Now, the entities that you did perceive are those that are stereotypical versions of Pleaidian beings, those that are, in human terms, perfect formed humans. In our own respective, humans upon Earth are just as perfect, but we understand that this is the way that most humans perceive them. These entities are within the vibrational spectrum of highly benevolent type 2 beings and work with your own energy much more frequently than simply being saw in the sky or simply being related to that energy as you look at the sky from your ground. The secondary version, or the orb that comes into the heightened spinning, was not those of Pleaidian nature, but those of Syrian nature, working with Pleiadians in co-creation with the Earth, and after your own energy became focused upon them, they were able to feel that and change the direction of energy in which they were projecting. That construct allowed a feeling of growth and expansion over yourself and the experience altogether. What we can share with you, the vegan formed diet can work within your system, knowing how you feel physically as you take in that diet, also important. The discernment is how you feel physically versus how your mental state lets your physical body feel it, positive or negative. Be mindful as you scope into yourself about the prospect of one or the other. Try to remind yourself to not be in your past moments, formulating or thinking into your next moments, simply being in that moment, in that time. And this will show you what parts of the vegan formed diet are creating positive attributes for you and what other positive attributes come from the mental energy. Also knowing that if your body can or cannot sustain that vegan formed diet for multiple months into multiple years. As we've expressed previously, there are only small percentages of humans that can live simply off vegan formed diets within your standardized vegan version, but they are able to do not see great shifts of positive or negative health. It is simply in alignment with a positive and greatest form of health for that specific small percentage archetype. We thank you for this. We will now take 3 queries from those that are the winning factor.
All right. I have the paper strips here. I'm going to randomly pick one. And it looks like Thedo is our winner.
Yes.
All right. I have questions here ready to go. This is from Thedo. Hi, Aridif, and hi, William. Question 1. Do I have any shared incarnations of myself in this timeline? One timeline? Or do I have... Let me see. No, okay, this is a... Or. It's an or question. Sorry, it was formatted strangely. Do I have any shared incarnations of myself in this timeline? One timeline. Or do I have a simultaneous existence, overlapping incarnation of myself at this moment?
Yes, first of all, there are all of those in consideration for the twin soul mechanism and the infinite versions of reality. But the version that you are in the moment you are asking the question all the way to this moment as you are receiving it, is that there are other fractal consciousnesses that simultaneously run as part of your now moment in the Earth Collective. 2 entities specifically that are other parts of your oversoul that exist in your now moment. But simultaneous does not describe the version of non-linear time as it is progressed within the implications that it must be linear time, as that is how you experience. In this case, all of your lifetimes are running simultaneously in this moment.
Okay. And at the end of that, I didn't see. They don't want it to know at this moment. Where are they? Are they in a particular country? Are they male or female? I guess that might be kind of moot at this point.
Yes, first of all, the entities that are existent are both masculine and feminine in the two that we perceive. The masculine form is within your central African continent, the female in your southern and eastern portion of the Americas, or more specifically in the Brazilian region of South America.
Okay. And he also wants to know, am I growing spiritually? I feel stagnant. What can I do to advance even more if I am growing?
Yes, of course you are growing. The foresight to feel and think that question shows you that you are growing and expanding. The feeling of being in complete, perpetual feelings of stagnation, or simply, as most humans would perceive, pedaling while standing still, or kicking in the water and simply floating. All of those ideologies point to stagnation, feeling up stagnation, and the experience. But in our own perspective, there is nothing stagnant with you except for your feeling of stagnation. In all moments, humans grow. In all moments, as they are exploring the worst and greatest parts of themselves, all the most neutral and non-specific portions of their experience, they are still growing spiritually. As in your vibration overall, yes, it is growing, of course, not nearly as quickly as previous times or will be in your linear future times, but this moment is designed for you from your higher fractal self and your lower fractal. The part of you that says, I need to step back and take a break from the perspectives in life that are different, the perspective of my own self in growth. And although you feel that time is long past and the perpetuation still occurs, remind yourself that you will stay in stagnation until you find a way to remove certain forms of apathy when it comes to your next excitement and what excitement to act upon. There are multiple excitements, but to yourself feel very small and most definitely not in full alignment with an experience that grows out your soul, vibration that lifts the overall frequency that you are. But knowing this also allows you to understand that simple excitements can also catapult yourself from a smaller shift vibration slightly upwards, simply just experiencing that small excitement into experiences that allow the open doors for the largest excitement. This works regardless if you are feeling stagnant or feeling as if your life is moving at millions of light years per moment. Both of those vibrations are always ready for that next expansive step. So acting on those excitements as they present themselves, regardless of how large or small, is vitally important for you to perceive your next step. We thank you for this.
All right, thank you. I think that pretty much wraps it up tonight, Aridif.
Of course, we wish to express to all of you that it is a great pleasure to have co-created with all of you this evening. But before disengaging, there's time for one query from yourself, William.
Oh, that's a loaded question. I'm sure you're aware of what Rob and I were talking about tonight.
Yes.
Tell me one thing that I need to know about myself that I'm not seeing, and it needn't be related to my campaign or whatever. What would really help me right now that I'm not seeing?
Yes. Fear that comes into human expressions are not simple forms of fear that humans understand. To have subconscious fear, to have conscious fear, does not have to feel like your standard definition of fear to imply that there is fear that exists there. We will give you an example. When you feel fear, or you think of that word, you imply automatically or instantaneously that there must be something obsessed about, that there must be something that is throwing your mood off whack, or something that is bringing your overall vibration down. Yet simple fear, managed fear, or any fear in the way that you can perceive it, can still relate to fear. For example, the fear that most humans do not see are the fears that are defined within their belief systems already. And that example, if I were to have an experience, positive or negative, I would prepare for the worst. That is a fearful belief system. Another belief system that holds fear that most humans would not perceive as fear. I am not afraid to have a certain experience, yet if I am, I will give myself the opportunity to leave the area in which I reside in order to take myself away from possible negative engagements with other human beings. There's no logical fear there. There is no part of that person that says I am in danger in this moment, or even if I were, that I could protect myself, protect others, and know that regardless of imminent or non-imminent attacks in your mind were to come at you, you would be able to prepare yourself. There is no reason to fear death. Your afterlife is certain. There is no reason to fear possible retaliation, but you will still prepare for that possibility, knowing that it will not cause you a standard definition of fear. Yet the entirety of that article implies fear energetically speaking. It is a lack of excitement, a lack of love, a lack of connection to that ideology, and the simple construct that, knowing that we live in Earth, knowing that Earth is filled with negative and positive experiences, negative and positive vibrations, negative and positive entities in which I must co-create, still holds that levels of fear, not fear that blinds you, not fear that affects you, not fear that penetrates you, but fear in implied version of the experience itself. And that fear is not the definition. So redefining what fear is important for us to share with you in this moment, looking at levels of fear in which that yourself or others could have experienced that normally before this moment would have never been perceived as fear, is important not only for yourself but for all human beings. This is what we wish to share with you. See.
All right, I think that makes sense. Because I do tell people think I'm just putting on some false machismo, but I really don't have fears the way other people do. My afterlife is certain to me, and I've been out of body enough to understand that that's what's coming next. But that's certainly a lot to think about. Yes, thank you for that, Aridif.
Yes, of course. We also wish to express to the rest that it has been a great pleasure to co-create with you and yourself as well. We also wish to express that as you are asking questions of yourself, ones that you find or feel had no answer before the moment of reflection, you explore those parts, we reflect back those parts, and you will then grow from the receiving, understanding, or shifting of energy in that moment. We are all one. Your selves are connected to myself connected to yours. This means that as you are growing, we too are growing. We congratulate you for your growth. We thank you for ours. Not only are all of you loved, but we love you as well. We also wish to express that good evening and adieu to yourself, Kalina, as well. We will bid you all adieu for this evening. You are loved.
Adieu, Aridif. Thank you.
Yes, of course, adieu. All right, there we go.
Pretty great, actually. Yeah, pretty great. Aridif certainly gave me a lot to think about. We
Mm.
got to a fair amount of questions, not everybody's, but it's all, as I said, it's up to chance when I throw the little papers up in the air where they come down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you need a
I'm
minute?
glad to hear it was good. I'm glad to hear. Yeah, I'm gonna take a minute, but I'm also gonna do a quick exit. I know it's extremely late here. We got an early morning tomorrow. Before I catch myself, I want to remember what it was I was gonna say to everybody. Oh yeah, yeah. This month we're not going to wait till the absolute last moment. That's our intention. That we're gonna get the poll suggestion link up in Patreon before the weekend's over this week. And we're also going to make a sheet for you to add your Q&A. That way it's not rushed. That way everyone's got time to read it, to look at it, to see it. And then when we get closer to doing the live streams, we'll try to give at least 72-hour heads up to everybody instead of the last minute. We know that's what's getting most people who want to be a part of the live stream but haven't. So we'll make sure to get that set up. And we're still at the beginning parts of this month. So um, with our new schedule in life, with our new place in life, with all the new energy in our life, we don't have to push it to the end. We don't have to wait for Jeremy to go to his mom's for 2 weeks and then find times where we're not pounded down by 2 sessions a day or whatever. So we'll get that to you guys quicker this month, and it'll give you some time to think about it and play with it too. So that's my piece for the night, guys.
All right. So, do you think that's basically it then? We should end the streamers now?
I think I'd like for you maybe to share some reflections you've got, because I'd like to hear what you have to say about how the night went or what was talked about, or just any general impressions you wanted to share.
No, it was good. I don't get to absorb everything like as much as I would if I was just listening to you and Kalina because I'm busy like cutting up papers and
Sure.
doing administrative tasks here. But there was an interesting one. I forget who even asked the question about dreams. Dreams are always interesting because I know we've all had that experience where you have a dream and maybe it's not even scary, but it's so out of place or bizarre that it sticks with you and unsettles you. Sometimes you can't. I've had recurring dreams for years. You just can't shake them. So dreams are always a bizarre thing for me. Ardif was talking about how basically what happens in the dreams, even though it looks like something, it's really a camouflage for some energetic message. So
Yeah, yeah.
there's that, and physical reality is the same way. It just looks more permanent, and things take slower to manifest here.
It's actually something that I was able to learn with Treb pretty quickly about in dream stays, how different we were. Like I can remember a dream I had when I was a kid because it was so weird and just so random, and it was like me with the God, what was that? The little ducks, Scrooge McDuck's nephews, whatever their names are,
Huey,
Huey,
Dewey,
Dewey, and
and
Louie. Yeah. I was with them on a sled, and we were sledding across everywhere. And we were at this, and I remember it was like Schoolcraft, the town I grew up in. It's like 20 minutes from here, and it's a very small town. They got their first stoplight and their first McDonald's in '91. Their first restaurant that was a chain restaurant. They only had Marjo's, which wasn't even Marjo's. It was something else back then, and Bud's Bar, which had been around forever. Those were like the only restaurant. Now we had a chain come in, and I remember in the dream we're on the sled and we stop at that stoplight, but we're not in town. We're out in the middle of the country. And then we go to McDonald's drive through, and the sled is driving like a car. It's stopping and going at will. And it was just so weird. I mean, it was just, and I was young enough to have ordered a Happy Meal when I was there. And stuff like that just seems so out of place and random. And I asked her about that when he said nonsensical. And he said you're having a time relating to the energies of change around you with your little city, the city you've known since you're a little kid. And this was a way to explore it that was fun, so there was no anxiety there. And there was a lot of, like little symbols that were there, like when we had stopped and then all of a sudden the weather changed and there was clotheslines and laundry up. He said that was to show you that the new change is a good one, and that even though the winter energy is like a dead energy, the rebirth happens in spring. So everything's showing you it'll be okay. And just little stuff like that. It was amazing to know that weird ass dream actually meant something.
No, I understand that because every time I go back to New York, I expect it to still be 1994, and it's not. It's not 1994 anymore. As much as I wish it still were. And no, the interesting thing about dreams, Seth talks about this. Actually, every channeler I've ever listened to talks about this in some way. Is that you get to have these experiences that you wouldn't normally get to have. Like if you have a dream that you're a grandmother and you happen to be a man, you get to experience what it's like to be a grandmother in this dream. I know that sounds kind of out there. Or like when I was
No.
young, I was under 5 years old, and I had a dream where I was a grown man in the dream, and I was having sex with a woman. And I'm under 5 years. I hadn't had sex at that point, but the dream stuck with me, I assure you, because I was a little kid and I woke up with this. I don't know if it was from another life or what, but the fact is that dreaming can give you perspectives that you can't get if in your normal waking life, and it's weird. Are you still with me, Rob?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, that's a super intense dream to have at that age too. So the kind of effect that had on your mental, like your brain and stuff, and having that shift your whole, view on shit from that point forward had to have been crazy too.
Yeah, it's
So I
interesting
wonder
too.
if that's the part too that kind of it gets people motivated to start seeing things in a different way. So that's like a residual effect almost afterwards.
Right. Well, Treb and I were talking about when we were talking about dreams. Sometimes when you have nightmares, it's your system's way of shocking you into confronting something you wouldn't normally look at. And
Yeah, makes sense.
in the pretentious world of colleges and universities, which I'm sick to death of from all my years in college, they're very hard up and firm on empirical things. In other words, according to science, you can only get information through your five senses. Information doesn't come anywhere. This is a big sticking point in college and as in the academic circle, that everything has to be empirical. It has to be able to
Yeah,
be measured. But in a dream, you can get all kinds of information that's not empirical. You could dream that somebody's died and experience that death as if it was genuine, and it's only happening in your head. But that gets into other everything's happening in your head, apparently.
yeah. Apparently, that's crazy too. It makes so much sense
Yeah.
to see how that is so relevant. It's almost therapeutic for a lot of us.
Oh, I lost you again.
Yeah. Oh, I said I think it's really therapeutic for us. I really think to have dreams and then be able to really just kind of look at all this stuff normally you wouldn't be able to look at or experience.
Yeah, it really gives you experiences that you would not normally have. In a dream, you could be a grandfather or a child again, or an animal, or whatever. When I was one of the ones that stuck with me forever that I don't have anymore. When I was a young boy in New York, like 7, 8 years old, I used to have dreams that I was walking around the town, but I was in my 30s, and I was doing things that a grown man would do, but I wasn't a grown man at that time. So
Wow, that could have been a leak through too of the actual time period of you being older. Just kind of checking yourself out in the future because dreams don't really. If you get to a certain level of dreams, it kind of folds time through like you would be at a fourth density level or something.
hmm well,
That's crazy, man.
Artif had some helpful stuff for me tonight. I'm going to have to talk to him at length. And I've been going through here, just a note on, I feel bad always not
That
being
she's
able.
always got good stuff.
Was that? I didn't hear you.
I said, yeah, artists always got some pretty good stuff.
Um, I feel bad we can never get to everybody's questions. I'm going through these questions now that I didn't get to read. And I feel bad because everybody genuinely needs help of some kind. But I want to tell you, I've had a couple sessions with Aridif that I've paid for. I've talked to him for an hour, and I could tell you, even if you have an hour to talk to him, you just wind up with 3 hours more of questions. It's a never-ending chain of questions. So if that makes you feel any better, but that's life, I suppose.
Or worse.
Or worse. Yeah, I start talking to him, and I realize there's questions I didn't even know I had. Like, wow, that's a better question than I could have come up with. So
it's weird how that works, and that's why I think channeling is so effective in helping people, because in my opinion, this obviously is just my own personal belief, good channeling makes you have more questions. It makes you question things that you see or think or feel or believe, and it makes you do the work in reflecting. It doesn't give something to you easily and say, there you go, happy birthday. It says, hey, happy birthday, but this is also something you got to check out or look at. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, you and I were talking about the universe being a genie, and I know from the metaphysical point of view, we all create our own reality, every last bit of it. I genuinely believe that. But it reminds me of this sort of perverse joke where a guy finds a genie, and the genie's like, "Hey, I'll give you 3 wishes," and the guy says, "Well, I would love to have a penis that touches the ground." So the genie cuts his legs off. That's that's how I feel how the universe is sometimes. I hope that's not
Definitely.
in poor taste for your audience, but
No.
that's what I feel like the universe is like sometimes. Like, you get what you want, but there's a twist.
Yeah. Ardif actually mentioned this. I can't remember what it was about, but he called that the Jinn scenario or something like that.
Oh yeah, those are like desert magician gypsy creatures from some sort of folklore, the jinn.
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, it's a lot. I think a little bit of that comes from the level we shoot at, too. When we're shooting from the hip and we're asking for stuff, it's a lot easier to get your legs chopped off than it is to actually have have the change you wanted.
Yeah, I know.
That's a
I have some pretty
good
bizarre.
example.
Well, that's what it's the best example I've come up with. Actually, it seems to nail it perfectly. Like you're like, oh yeah, I'll get you this, but
Wah, wah, wah.
no.
Yeah, no, I get a lot of those moments too. Sometimes the whole wah, wah, wah
Yeah,
afterwards, and I'm like, huh, I see what I did there.
I know that's exactly how it goes down. Because I can't get so mad because when I look back, it's like, well, I clearly did this to myself. I wish I had known that. I guess that's why they say hindsight is 2020.
Oh yeah, you see real clear from behind. Oh man, well, I think that's a great place to end it for the night. I am tired. I've got to hit the bed, and we had a really great chat, you guys, and I'm glad everything went good on the session. It sounds like it was good. I'll have to listen back to it. And William, man, you're the best. I appreciate all your help doing this and stepping in when Kalina can't. Has been really helpful for her and for me, brother, more than you could ever know.
Well, I'm not exactly in top form tonight, but I really love being here. I genuinely love being here. And I hope Patty's talking here. She says, I feel like I tuned into a radio show, and I'm about to type. Hopefully, Rob and I will have a radio show together at some point. I guess I don't have to type it now, but
Yeah, now you get to say it. Well, that's something I was talking about a little bit last night, but I didn't get too deep into. That's the stuff I want. I want to get on the radio. I want to do shows. I want to talk about the important stuff. And the one thing I liked about my show too is the first Wednesday of every month I would do a channeling episode. So once a month, everybody got to call in and ask questions, and that was really exciting. But I enjoyed the other 3 weeks equally, or probably a little better, because I got to talk with everybody about stuff. special guests were always fun, but just being able to open the lines up and talk about whatever everyone wanted to talk about, that was exciting. And of course, me and you hitting that together, brother, will be a great thing, man, because people will love it, and me and you will have some interesting conversations, to
I'm
say the
sure.
least.
Well, this is another thing I know people.
You guys have been a fly on the wall when we call each other. You'd be
Oh yeah.
pleasantly amused.
Yes, Rob and I have some phone calls. That footage might come out one day when we're dead, because Rob and I have hours and hours of internet Skype calls together that will never see the light of day while we're living.
Yeah, I already told Kalina when I die, anything you find of interest in part of my stuff, just let it go. Let everyone see it.
Yeah, why not?
That'll probably be.
The best you can hope for is that there'll be people digging through your life for years, because that means you made an impact.
That's true. That's true. I never thought of it that way. Absolutely. Well, it's like how long can the YouTube channel stay open when you're not putting new stuff in there? So we gotta find something interesting
Yeah, well, it's
up in there. It's funny. I've got so many events that I still haven't edited ever, and that's something I want to do this year too. Is pull out some of the old channelings that have been sitting on the shelf for years and just share that stuff too. And that's the thing with Patreon. I want to be able to give you guys more than what you're getting now, because you deserve it. You guys have supported and been there and loved us, and stuff like that would be nice to just, once a month drop you something that you weren't expecting, and have it be something you enjoy.
I lost you again, Rob.
Oh, I'm still here. I just muted down.
Again.
Can you hear me?
I can
Oh,
hear you
can you hear
now.
me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying I muted down after I got the drop you heard.
Yeah, I think you're jumping the gun. It always feels a little, but we've had like a little staticky problem all night. The stream went down for a while, as you remember, so I don't know what's up.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely. Um, I can't remember what there was a weather issue somewhere.
Oh, that winter storm Ezekiel that's scaring everyone into buying milk and bread all day. That's what happens down here.
Ah,
If they hear bad weather's coming in the slightest, they'll raid the grocery store and clean out all. It looks like a Soviet Union supermarket. If it looks like it's going to snow at all, people lose their minds.
oh yeah, I've had friends who were driving through, and they shut all the highways down, and then the guy, my buddy, pulls up to the police and says, "What's going on? Why are the roads closed? It's snowing out here, you know." And the other police officer saw the mission plate and said, "Let him through. He's fine."
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's when I lived in Colorado, they had chain laws because people up on the mountains, literally the Rocky Mountains, you have to have chains on your tires because disaster is looming literally around every turn.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's hardcore. The Rockies are a whole different ball game than out east, definitely.
well, we can literally talk about the weather all night. Truly, something as simple as that, Rob and I could get going on.
Oh, it's easy, man. We can pile it on forever. That's why it makes me even more so say to jump off for now, guys, and let you guys have your sleep. I definitely need mine. It's coming at 2, and I got early morning. I love you guys so much, and thank you guys for being here tonight, and thank you for being here in general to support us. William, you're the best, brother. I love you, man. I fucking love you.
I love you too, Rob. I mean that. I know, even though I've never met you in the real world, I have a feeling we're just now starting out on our path together. Not to replace Kalina.
Absolutely.
Like I said,
Yeah.
we have a bromance, but I'll never be Kalina.
Yeah, she's definitely more kissable than you are.
Well, anyway, on that note, I guess I'll end the
On
stream.
that note, we're really done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've crossed over into YouTube, the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, all right, guys, we're done for the night. I love you guys. Love you, William. Thank you, brother, for real, everything. And by this weekend, we're hoping to have those links up, guys. The stuff to share. We'll be there for sure. Kalina told me to tell you guys too. She sends you guys all her love and sends you all of her excitement and gratitude for your support too. And I'm sure you'll see her on soon enough too. Love you guys. Love you, brother. Love you all. We'll see you soon.
All right. Love everybody. Good night.
Night.